Hey guys, Aubrey here with Erie Motorsports. So today I'm in my camper here. This is a Tiffin Allegro Breeze 28 BR. So doesn't really matter because we're doing this for any kind of heavy duty vehicle, RV, truck. Should run the same thing as long as it doesn't have a self-park feature in the motor. You should be able to run one of these control switches. So basically what ended up happening is this is my old one, and these are like impossible to find now. And I don't want, even if I can find one, like I might be able to get them through Tiffin, but I don't want an impossible to find switch. So what I went to Little Fuse right here. I'll put it up so you can see it better. But I'm guessing it's Little Fuse. It's EL instead of LE, but anyways, it doesn't matter. Most of these, I mean, you can use any of the ones on this list. I bought one that controls 2 motors because it was available. The rest of them had to be shipped into Napa. This was next day, and I wanted to get this done. So this is the jumper that goes between my camper wiring harness and my old switch. And it just so happens, oh here, this is good information too. I will put this up so you can see it better. But this is the wiring diagram for this switch. And it actually has color-coded, these all have color-coded wiring that seems very simple. Yellow is low speed, red is 12 volt, etc., etc. And I got to looking at my jumper here, and it also has, they're all blue wires, but they're striped with yellow, brown, all the colors that match these. So my thought was, that'd be cool if all of these matched up to the same as the standard wiring diagram, right? But they don't. So I'm going to walk you through figuring out which wires are which and hooking up your own switch. All right, so bear in mind, this is how my vehicle works. And if you attempt to do this, you're doing it at your own risk because there's a possibility that you could blow something or wreck something. One of the tools that I'm using for testing this is a jumper with a 10 amp fuse in it, so that I can connect these with some protection. Not that that couldn't still fry some circuit board. Oh, the other thing that I wanted to mention was that this switch has a microcontroller in it. So if we're looking at what these wires are doing, this switch, when you set an interval, you're setting this switch to an interval, and it is going to run the slow side of your motor every so many seconds. So you have a low speed wire, a high speed wire, and then you have your 12 volt power in, you have your park, which lets the controller in this unit, lets it know that it's in park, and then you have your washer and your ground. So the first thing that you want to try and figure out is where your ground is. So if you take a multimeter and you set it to ohms, right, so you can test for continuity, and you connect one side of that to a known ground, theoretically, you would come in here and be like, oh, that's your ground. Nice and simple. But if you test this one, or if you test this one over here, they also are grounds. Except they're not. This is actually your high speed and your low speed motor. So in this case, I know this is a ground because it's a black wire. But if you don't have an obvious ground like that, it could be a little tricky to figure out. You might end up having to blow a fuse to try and figure out where it is. But essentially, I figured out that was ground. So we're going to put that in there, bring this back, and we're going to test for voltage. Now, when we test for voltage with the key on, there is voltage here, and there is voltage on this one too. So we don't know which one of these well, you don't, because I've already tested this, I do. We don't know which one of these is our actual power in. So, in this case, I knew that was ground. I knew that there wasn't voltage to either of these other two. So I tried this and ran it to one of these. And it ran my washer. So I knew the washer shows 12 volts. So I knew that was my washer. So I went to this other one here, which has to be my power in by process of elimination. And now I was able to go around and figure out which one's my high speed and my low speed motors signals. So it was a little bit of trial and error, and I got lucky and found it pretty quick. But when we connect this, it's going to make my wipers spin, and that is my low speed. Now, that's my high speed, and that blew my 10 amp fuse. So I already know that's my high speed. So from there I know that this is my ground, this is my washer, this is my high speed, power, low speed, which leaves this one park. If you're in question about which one's park, if the windshield wipers are up and you test park, it's going to show voltage. When you run the windshield wipers down, now I'm going to run this one with no fuse. Not recommended, but I know where these ones are at right now, so we'll run it down until the windshield's wipers are in a park position. Right there. And now we test the park. There is no voltage. If we run them back up a little bit, oh, wrong one. There should be voltage now. Right, so we've got voltage. Now, the thing to know about the windshield wipers is that, or not the windshield wiper, the washer fluid, is that it uses the ground to run. So it's connecting the ground to the washer in order to run the washer fluid. So we connect this one. That's going to run my washer fluid. So just to recap, the park is going to show no voltage when it's down, when they're in park, and voltage when they're not in park. The washer fluid is going to take a ground to make it run. And at least on my vehicle, the high and the low speed both show continuity to ground when you test them on a tester. So it's going to be really tricky to find if you don't know where your ground is. You could end up blowing something if you're not careful. You can see I blew my 10 amp fuse when I was trying to test for high speed. So if you're testing for high speed, you may need like a 15 amp fuse. But you want to make sure and use a fuse so that you don't end up frying one of these wires or frying a fuse somewhere else in your vehicle. All right, so we're going to hook this up, test it out, and see how we made out. Now, I know that the purple, orange, gray, purple, orange, and gray are the only ones I think that we don't need, right? Now these are going to be off of my motor number 2, which we're not going to use. I will cap them off, assuming that all goes well here. So the rest of these, I'm going to strip and crimp. All right, so this is the moment of truth here. Oh, I'll put that on there. Oh, plug her in. Okay, we're on slow. That should be intermittent now. That's not intermittent. All right, guys. I've been at this for like 2 hours now, because as soon as I hooked everything up, I was super confident. Everything matches up perfect. It's going to be slick and simple. As soon as I turn it on, everything's going to work perfectly. I've been cutting and splicing and testing and messing around with this for like 2 hours now, and I thought at one point, well, I cut that park switch. What was happening was the low speed motors were just continuously going no matter what, even when the switch was turned off. That didn't make any sense. I thought maybe it was the park switches, because I had cut the park switch for the second motor, and I'm dealing with a 2-motor setup, which I probably shouldn't have messed with. But I thought because I cut that park switch and that wasn't connecting, it was just trying to run the wipers until it finally got to park, which it never did. So I reconnected that wire, connected that in. That didn't make any difference. What I finally figured out is that this Cole Hersee or little fuse switch is made to power the washer button, is made to power the washer pump on the 12-volt side. And the way this Allegro is set up and the way this switch is set up is to power it on the ground side. So that that connection was, I guess, backfeeding 12 volts into my switch and somehow causing it to continuously run. The second I switched that, cut that wire, everything ran perfectly. So now I have two options. I'm going to deal with this tomorrow because it's about 10:30 at night and I want to go to bed. But my two options are to rewire the pump on the washer so that it's got ground and then the power will come from the switch. Option B is to power a relay. And what I would do is I would have the coil on the relay be powered by this switch. So you're going to have the ground go to ground, the hot's going to come from this switch, and then on the contact side of the relay, you would just have ground to the washer pump. Either one of those options will work. I'm not going to decide what I'm doing tonight. We'll get back to this tomorrow. All right, guys, so I got this figured out finally. Show you a this is my diagram here. So I connected the black end to the ground here. This is on my plug in a Tiffin Allegro. So if you got something else, you're gonna have to figure out where to put this stuff. But and then I combined the wires together for the first and second motor. So the purple and blue go to park, brown goes to washer, white and gray go to high speed, red goes to your positive, and yellow and orange go to the low speed. Now, one thing that I found with this, so I figured out the problem originally was with the washer. What I did was I took the washer and I switched the leads for the washer, and then connected the ground lead to ground. So what was the ground lead becomes the positive lead and connects right here to brown. So this is now a positive signal going to the washer, and the other side of the washer is connected to the ground. So everything's working good. There's my switch, and if we push it in, Oh, got to turn this on. We push it in. Washer's working fine. That'll run for 3 cycles. And then we've got intermittent. And then we can go all the way up to low speed and then high speed. All right. So that's it. I hope this video was helpful. I'll put the actual files for these are available online. If you go to Little Fuse, you can get this data sheet, and if you search for the actual part number and a wiring diagram, you can get this wiring diagram. I'll also post them somewhere in this video, probably earlier. So your setup might be totally different, could be a total hassle, but at least this maybe helps you understand how they work and gives you something to go off of. So thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more videos and content. We'll see you later.